61 runway, welcome white.
All right, hey everybody, we are live on FlightCast from Atlanta, Georgia, here at Infinite Flight ModCon headquarters for our 2017 gathering, and we're super pumped to be here. There's a lot of excitement. We just had some breakfast in the room. As you may be able to see in the background, we have a crew over there in the peanut gallery. You guys want to give a wave? Here we've got Chris Schaefer, Chris Levitt, Joshua Smythley, who is Smithley, really? Okay. We've got Gary over there, Misha Camp, Miss Linda, and Mr. Keast.
What are y'all doing? Are y'all all flying right now? Testing. Oh, testing. Okay.
Beta testing. With me, of course, in the live FlightCast studio is the always wonderful Mr. Skyhawk Heavy,
Yes,
Mark
you're
Den.
welcome. You're
Hey,
welcome.
buddy.
Hey, man, what's going on? It's been a great weekend.
It has been an awesome
been a
weekend.
fabulous weekend.
Yes.
Big shout out to Steven.
Steven has not only helped with sponsoring this event, he's also producing. He's letting us sleep in his house and feeding us. We had a beautiful breakfast this
And
morning.
chauffeur.
Yesterday he said, how about this? How about I just make some breakfast for everybody? And I'm like, man, it's too much.
It's
It's
just
too much. We can handle our own breakfast. He said, no, I insist. So we did that this morning. So huge thank you to him. And let's go around. We've got, what's your title, Tyler? Grab a mic.
Support. Do a little bit of support, a little bit of air traffic, a little bit of supervising Skyhawk
Yep.
Heavy.
But Supervisor Skyhawk. Okay, your title is ATC Community Manager. There's no little bit in anything.
Yeah.
We dabble a little bit in
Yeah,
everything, though.
Anyway,
we're
Tyler's going to
jack
have
of
his
all
head
trades.
down looking at our live chat. I want to remind people watching, please keep the live chat friendly so Tyler doesn't have to moderate it too much. He's going to be jotting down the odd question that is super unique.
Yeah, we'll try to get
and
to,
worth
some of the
answering.
good ones.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we'll ignore the other ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Beside Tyler is one of the owners of Flying Development Studio and Chief Aviatrix, Laura Laban. Welcome.
Hello.
Salut.
Bonjour.
Ça va?
Ça va?
Oui.
Ça va?
And
Au
then,
revoir.
Au
Is that,
revoir.
is that
Yeah, that
No,
was
that's
good.
goodbye,
That's goodbye.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll save that
I'll
one
say it
for
when
later.
we leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And beside Laura, we have another co-owner of Flying Development Studio and developer Philippe Roland.
Hi.
Bonjour.
How's it going, Jason?
It's going well.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
You, Stephen, for hosting us.
Thank you for hiring us.
And then beside him, we have Valentin. Valentin Horner. Horner? Say it the way you would say it in France.
Valentin Horner.
All right, I'm not going to get that right. So,
But
And-
it's not even pronounced it correctly in French.
Well,
It's supposed to
I'll
be
tell you how we
German.
say it. It's Valentine. That's what your Valentine Horner.
Just Val. Val is enough.
awesome. Val's one of the developers for Infinite Flight, full-time developer. And then beside him, we have the honey munchkin himself,
Isn't that Misha?
Cam.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. This is exciting to have Cam here because not only did he develop some pretty cool stuff on the Infinite Flight API a couple of years ago, but is now working for the company.
Yep, very happy to be. Had a great experience so
Awesome.
far.
Your
Cool.
app has been awesome to where I can see who's out of the region when I'm not even flying.
Yeah.
To do your
And
little bit of
reset
Flight
the
Hawk Heavy,
XP.
basically.
But it's going to take on a whole new meaning now as we watch people fly transatlantic
That's true, and we've started seeing it recently. So
and flying out of regions won't be a thing.
Well, exactly. So all the people that I've reset their XP for flying out of regions will now be able to rebuild it quickly.
And
that's
I
tough for
forgot,
Skyhawk.
Turner's upset because I forgot to announce him. We
Yes,
have
announce Turner.
also Turner over there, but I guess nobody can see him yet. He's hanging out with
He'll be
Chris.
in here in a minute.
Okay, so everybody, welcome. Thank you for coming. Mark has his device over there as well, and the reason for that is that he is setting up a flight on the TV to my 5 o'clock here. And so it's not, we realize you guys aren't going to be able to see it really clearly or closely, but we thought it'd be cool to have a flight going on in the background. So where are you here, Mark?
Right now I am in
ABQ?
I'll lower the time.
You want to crank the time down? So we're going to have Mark start a flight here at
okay, this
dusk.
will be good. This shows you the time, how you can adjust the time.
See the sun going up and down there.
Yep. So you can do sunrise, noon, sunset, night.
Yeah.
Current.
Let's go close to sunset there, Mark. Maybe
All right, so sunset.
close. Yeah.
Let's move over here. Probably right about there.
That's going to be too bright. Anyway, while Mark and Laura argue about what time to start at, we'll get started here. And so I want to start with
Am I starting with this now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep. So I want to start with you guys. Obviously, we've got the developers of the app. Everybody wants to know certain questions, but I want to leave those for a few minutes just to create a little more anticipation. Let's start out with a easy one. One of the questions people want to know is, will there be any new aircraft launched with Global?
There won't be. I had posted pictures of the MD-11 and DC-10.
Yeah.
But we had to put that on hold because there was just too much stuff happening. And we figured it would be easy to just focus just on Global and then ship those planes a little bit later. But they're coming.
Okay.
And they're not going to come long after because I've done most of the work on it. What remains to be done is basically just a flight model and tweaking the flight model.
Okay, cool. And who's involved? Or remind us who's involved in. You're doing a lot of the aircraft work, but who's on your team for that?
Okay, so there's basically 3 people. There's Jarno and Carol.
Who we don't know yet. We've never met that person.
We've never met Carol.
No.
But he's a really talented guy.
He's in Russia or something.
He's in
Ukraine. Yeah.
Ukraine. And we actually tasked Jarno to find somebody to help him with the cockpits because he just didn't have time to do both high quality fast enough for us to like ship planes fast enough. So he found Jarno and we found Carol. And then he just amazed us from the get-go. He's just amazing.
Is he the one doing the cockpit shots that I've been seeing?
Cockpits.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's just the new plane after the MD-11, DC-10. The cockpit is just, we saw pictures a few days ago. Absolutely amazing.
Now, usually if I'm fortunate enough to have a screenshot shared with me of the development, the cockpit looks one way when I see those, and then it looks another way in Infinite Flight. But I heard a rumor that you are using a new way of rendering cockpit models. Is that true?
On some new technique, right? It's experimental.
I mean, we try to improve a little bit the quality at every new aircraft. What you see is usually renderings from authoring software. So those are obviously like super high quality because it's using ray tracing and has reflection and a ton of other things that we don't support yet.
They look real life.
But our goal is to get to that. So on a mobile, like those rendering are done on a PC that has a lot of power. So it's hard for us to match this 1-to-1. But this is definitely our goal.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get to that quality at some point.
Okay, cool.
But like what, just in terms of who does what? So
yeah,
Jarno does the exterior model and the animations for the exterior. Carol does the inside, and basically when they're done, they send me the files, and I just do the flight model. So there's 3 people involved in that.
Okay, cool. Guys, Mark, I think we're gonna need to make we're gonna need to go to dusk here.
They said they can't see the TV.
Well, it's in the shot, but it's right now on the screen. It's blown out, so you have to go darker. That's why I wanted sunset.
Sunrise is probably better.
Okay, sunrise. Well, then it'll get lighter as he goes, though.
We can adjust, whatever. Like
All right, so let's
These are the kind of arguments that happen behind the scenes all the time that nobody gets to hear.
Oh,
there we go. No. That looks beautiful.
I can't see it.
Then give it to somebody
I'll
else.
do it this will be good. And then
Yeah, it's too bright. I can see it here. Go back to where you were before, and then if you can't see it, maybe we can give it to somebody else.
I'll do it. How's that?
There we go. That looks nice. Okay. I mean this isn't our primary goal, so All right, so what do we start with here after aircraft? Let's go with a feature list. How about that? So one of the main things that people want to know is what's it going to cost, but I want to save that one. What's it going to cost, and what's the other big one? When? So let's start with a feature list first. So Philippe, you're preparing sort of a press release that's going to come out following this interview, and you've got is there a feature list in there? I can't remember.
So
read it
right
this
after
morning.
this live stream, we'll post. We'll have an announcement post that contain the whole everything that's been discussed here, so you guys can find all we talked about. So yeah, that's what's
You don't want
coming.
to share any with us?
Oh, well, the feature list. Well, we can. So what do we have? We have HD scenery. HD imagery for large portion of the world. We have high quality topography as well for anything between 60 and minus 60 latitude. We have autopilot nav mode now. We have a couple new livery. We have fuel
Livery.
consumption. Yeah, sorry, liveries. Fuel consumption, fuel jettison,
The fuel
for
jettison,
for
yeah.
heavies.
So that's a good point. It's only for heavies, right?
Yeah,
It's
for
only
heavies.
for the
All
heavies.
heavies?
It's only for planes that should. It's only for planes that should have fuel.
Correct.
okay.
The
And-
only
and-
heavy
and
that's
to-
not going to have
in
it
real
will
life.
be the 757.
But there's no visual for that, right? It's,
No,
it's
not
only
yet.
Yeah, there's no animation yet.
no animation
Soon,
yet.
when Kevin gives us the.
Okay.
Doug.
Hey Turner, this is Turner. If everybody can see.
I think
Good boy.
we covered everything. Yeah.
Um,
And the startup and shutdown is for every single plane.
Every
So we
single
kinda
plane.
And
roll
of course,
back-
we'll have tutorials for all this stuff. So
yeah, and it's
Press
really
the
cool to just sit in cockpit view with your prop starting up. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no fuel jettison animation from the wingtips, but that's something that's coming. Maybe in version 2 or something. Whenever you
What was that?
what kind of things can you push in like a hot fix? Could you have to do an update for all these things like fuel jettison animation, or what sort of
Um,
things can you actually push as a hot fix?
So if it's for planes, it's going to be usually like fuel consumption values, weight and balance stuff. I can modify.
These are
with-
things that you can just do an airplane update on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we also have a new way of doing that now. We don't have to re-download the entire plane. The airplane configuration is a separate download. So
Okay.
we can just update, and it's not like a 20 meg download if we just did a small change.
Okay.
So this is much better than before.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
also one thing that's important also, we changed that recently. So for the downloads of planes, some people had reported that it was kind of slow in some networks because we were downloading from one single point. So that's going to change with Global.
It's on
we-
CDN.
We have a CDN, so Content Delivery Network, which is basically copying files locally in a place next to people's house. So basically at your ISP or somewhere
Where the
in your
closest data center
country,
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've noticed, like for some people, it's actually not that fast, but for most of the people who test it, it is much faster.
Yeah. Well, this morning I downloaded something onto Steven's iPad, the 787, and the download was faster than the install. The download was almost instant.
I'm not surprised.
So super fast.
I have a question about whether or not. There's a question about whether or not the engines will start on or off.
Oh.
We've actually added some really great settings for that, where you can start with your engines off or on as the default. Also, things that were already there, like changing the metrics, whether it's pounds, or kilograms, and there was another setting in there as well.
Yeah, there's
do
a
you
couple
remember?
new
metrics?
ones.
Yep. And then along with the engine start and stop. So there's a few things that you can change your default to however you prefer
Yeah.
to start each flight.
Oh, and with fuel jettison, I don't know if you mentioned this already, but you can only dump fuel if you're over max landing weight, right?
Yeah, it just automatically cuts if you're at max landing weight.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then
So if you're in the green, it's
Yeah.
gonna not let you dump any more
right.
fuel.
Because if we didn't have that, people just forget about it. There's a warning in the HUD that it's happening, but if you forget about it, you're just gonna go to 0 and crash.
And you got to be above 7,000 feet.
AGL.
AGL.
Give us a nice camera angle there, Mark.
Well, let me get off the ground and get established first. I'm flying a Boeing, not an Airbus, so I hand fly this thing.
Right.
I'm not just pushing a button.
Later on in the flight, guys, we'll point a camera right at the TV and let you see it, more of it. Okay, so let's get to status. Where are we at with this release?
So
Wait, should we actually share this? Maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't share this.
yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. No. Okay, so where's it at?
So as it's been hinted on social media, we pushed our release. I mean, this update to Apple. Unfortunately, we just saw that it was rejected. So there's a few fixes that we need to do before.
That's not a joke, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's
No,
serious.
that one is not a joke. This is the things that are usual were expected because there's a lot of things that changed in this release, and with all the new features, they need to test more, and there's a couple things that failed in their tests, so we need to fix those, and we hopefully we expect this to take no longer than to be able to have another build by the end of this week, maybe before, hopefully, but yeah, at this point this is just we have an RTM ready to like a build that is ready, and we're just in the process of dealing with the review, the Apple.
Can we
review
share
process.
that? It was the IPv6 thing. Can we share?
Well,
No?
it's not there.
Oh.
It's a few issues on certain networks. It seems to be to cause issues, but I mean, it doesn't matter to go into details. No, it doesn't. I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter.
Here, you guys should both have a mic.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say that there's it's probably TMI, but there's, for some people it just okay. The reason why I'm saying this is because we could get blamed for like delays, but there's for the problem we have today in the store, the message they sent us actually does not make sense. And most people, if you go on the forums, are actually, we had the same message, and we just resubmitted the build, and it worked, and
Right.
it passed it. So we have no idea.
It depends on who you get and
So
Apple
we're gonna try
all kinds of
something, like
things.
we're gonna try to like do something when a connection fails and see if it works. But then we'll see. So there's this. This is why I said, but Apple,
yeah.
because there's
Be a pretty
element of
frustrating
randomness
process.
in what they do. So
Okay.
yeah.
Some are wanting about Android as well.
So Android will start releasing once we're able to release the Apple one. So we might end up releasing Android very quickly as we're releasing the Apple one if we see that there's no major issue. The reason why we want to do a very slow rollout is because now Infinite Flight requires servers. Constant connection and constant connection to our servers, so we need to make sure that everything hold up there. Because we might need to add new servers as new people connect, and it's easier. I mean, on Android there's also a couple performance things that we need to address before releasing that, but we'll release it as it's mostly it's ready as well on mostly ready as well on Android, but there's last small details that we need to ensure. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I want to ask Cam, what with this whole you're new to the party here, so what were some of the things that you were had a hand in with this release?
So I joined Flying Development Studio in the summer. Started off as a summer internship, and I'm now continuing on. And I've been doing a range of things to help out with the global release. I joined in quite late in the development cycle, so the stuff I've been doing is fairly minor compared to the amazing stuff the other guys have been saying, but it will be noticeable. So I've been doing a lot of stuff in the user interface, so the design of the pages, of how you navigate with the app, how you select aircraft, how you select not regions anymore, airports and all that.
Yep.
And just been looking at it from how I've seen it as a user and how I can improve how everyone else can use it from the first time, or how your first time using Global, your first time using the app in general. and it's been good because the other guys have been fairly focused on global, on making it look pretty, on making it work, or what Philippe mentioned in the other podcast on fixing memory issues. But this really was a good opportunity to look at other things as well.
Yeah. Nice. So now this I didn't ask you ahead of time, so just feel free to say no. But Cam, you'll be working on some new projects now that the Global is releasing. So can we mention any of those? Are they worth mentioning? Is it behind the scenes stuff or?
It's a few behind the scenes stuff, but a few things that are still at early stages. I say. I mean, we'll see how it goes with the global release as well. But I'd like to do some stuff with flight planning. I'd like to do some stuff with ATC as well, which I was discussing with Philippe last night. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that can be done still. I mean, now that we've got, that's a good thing about global. Once we get global, we've got a good foundation that we can work on and build new things on top of.
Yeah.
So getting to this milestone, it's taken a while, but it's an important milestone for us. There's so much more we can do now after this.
Yeah, very true. So you worked on, you mentioned before, the aircraft selection screen.
Yep.
Have you shared any of that online? I can't remember. Have we?
Not yet, and it will be shared. We'll show this in the post that
Okay.
that we will send. We'll have a little animation that shows how it works. So stay tuned for after the live stream. I mean, maybe Mark can show this on the TV, but we'll do that later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's much improved. I mean, the work that Cam did is really
Yeah, it's
really
awesome.
It's
They're all. It's
lot
very
clearer,
uniform.
really a lot clearer, cleaner. It looks a lot more professional. That's what it is.
Yeah. It looks great. Val, same question for you. What kind of things have you been working on for the global release?
Hasn't actually changed much since February. Still working on these airports. It's a lot of work because we try to show as much of the airport as we can while still having something that runs smoothly on any device. And there were also cases in my code where I made mistakes and it was using too much memory. So
You get thrown under the bus every time.
Yeah.
It seems. Oh, that's Val's code. Every time there's a post in beta, oh, that's Val's.
No, well, Cam and me, yeah, we get I say blamed for the bugs and the crashes, but it's all right. We fix them. We just we need the beta testers to find them.
Yeah.
And so there are things like the lights that you can see much further away now, the beacons, for example, because you don't, like, if you have an airport that is really far away, you don't want to render, like, the markings when it's, like, I don't know, like 20 nautical miles away from you. You just want to see the beacon.
Yeah.
So now flying in the night, it's awesome because you can see all the small airfields, the beacons shining everywhere.
Before I don't know how far your flight plan goes, but before we finish the stream, maybe we'll
We got
have you do
2,000 miles.
Okay. Oh. Well, let's divert
We've
at
got
some
time.
point, and we'll do an approach, and we'll maybe crank it down to nighttime at some point and see if we can see some of that.
Yeah,
But
we're just wanting to show this so people can kind of get an idea of it
Yeah,
right now.
it's
and
perfect.
Then
It
we'll
looks
do
beautiful.
a close up on it in a little bit.
But it doesn't do justice.
Amazing.
Yep.
Stephen, here, put this in front of the camera. This is the aircraft selection screen that Cam has been working on, and I don't know how viewable that will be, but we'll see pictures later. Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I can do all that in a little bit.
All right. Scratch that idea. Nice one, Jay. All right, so we've got new and global. I'm just trying to delay the pricing as long as I can.
One main question that keeps coming up.
Tyler's got a question.
One of the chat questions, a lot of people are just wondering what bugs we've squashed. Obviously, we'd be here for a few years if we
Yeah.
covered all of them, but it would be good to talk about some
Yeah,
of the big
sure.
ones
What are
that
some of the
maybe
big
hung
challenges?
us up over time.
Oh,
Good one.
I think the biggest one is the floating thing. The floating precision issue.
Yeah.
The
Can you explain what that is for people who might not realize?
Well, basically, before, as you were flying away from your point of origin, the physics was getting shakier and shakier. So your aircraft was getting shaky. Also, the rendering was not was getting less accurate. This was basically a math precision issue. So as you get further from your point of origin, math computation gets less and less accurate, and so all those computation that we make for the flight model and for the 3D graphics.
So you no longer have to Tokyo drift into the gate.
Yeah,
exactly.
I got really good at parking and drifting in and then straightening it out at the last second.
At the last second.
This is an issue that everybody that has to deal with a planet scale thing has to solve at some point.
Okay. Is there an easy way to describe how you solved that?
Bigger numbers and also basically the physics. We move it from time to time. The origin of the
so you reset it. Okay.
Resets to the position of your plane like every I don't know few seconds or every few miles or so. I mean this is pretty standard. This is what I remember like FSX probably did or something similar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's the funny aspect about this is when I was working on that kind of offset world that's not visible, and we like simulating basically on a flat surface and then transforming it to Philippe's world. So sometimes basically your plane is flying technically upside down, but the gravity is pointing in the right direction.
Okay.
And there's one shortcut that I had taken at some point was assuming that the world was like we could assume since we're resetting the physics every few seconds or few like 100 meters, I was assuming that the curvature of the Earth didn't matter, but it did, because Philippe was like after some point like if I keep rolling, it feels like the plane goes onto the ground or like go over like I forgot what was happening. It went over the ground.
Oh.
Then I was like, oh, maybe then, and then I figured like. Same for gravity, but no, the gravity also has to move in that section. So
I think that's what we said last time is if the Earth was flat, that would be a much easier problem. But as we said, like this is, I mean,
isn't it flat?
As I showed in a Twitter post, this is all happening on a real scale Earth.
Yep.
So now full scale Earth. So we really had to solve all those issues that we didn't have to solve in the previous version.
Yeah. Okay.
And there were things also. One of the bugs that I had to fix was the reason why I added nav mode was because I tried to fly with some of the guys who use the API. I tried to do a nav mode with the heading. But if you go close to the poles or if you cross the Atlantic,
right. Yeah.
You can see one of the flights that I did, the early flights, where I just basically was around in a circle. Because you just go around the North Pole, like the magnetic one,
right.
And it just like keeps going around in circles because the heading keeps changing, and the
right.
plane's like, well, you told me to follow this one, but it's just not straight. So that's why we have a nav mode now that actually doesn't use the heading; it just uses the cross-track distance from where you should be heading to.
Yeah, and what's awesome is that the flight physics or the world physics are correct, so that if you look at your flight plan zoomed in a little bit, there's a straight line. And as you zoom out, you can realize that it's curving around with the Earth. How you guys did that, I have no freaking idea. But
math.
You just
I think said meth.
You just go on
lots and lots of meth.
You just go on Stack Overflow and just
directly from Alabama. Remember early on when we started testing this in alpha, and when we would file an FPL, Tyler, and if our FPL, I think it was Val from like 350 to like 010. Remember how it would just go crazy, even though it wouldn't necessarily follow the
That was
FPL?
probably my thing.
Huh?
That was probably my thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Val,
But I think it was Val actually.
yeah. Val gave you the build and you pushed it. So, but yeah, that was so frustrating because we're sitting here trying to fly north, and all of a sudden, the plane's like doing 3 holding patterns before it finally tracks it. But now that's all been fixed. But I mean, look at this. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. We still get blown away.
Steven will be using the Apple TV every time he goes to fly now. Like, oh,
yeah,
this is
Steven,
all right.
Steven, all right, kids, it's 6 o'clock. Time to go to bed.
Yeah. Daddy's got to fly.
Yeah, if you go to bed now, you won't be hungry. So just go.
And what I don't know if has been mentioned yet, but is this the new scenery angle? There's a
this
couple,
is the new
couple
painting
news.
camera.
Yeah.
That Laura
There's
implemented.
maybe 5 or 6 extra angles that I added. and they look really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
They do.
It's because I think you kind of based this like off of a commercial, didn't you?
Yeah, I was on American at a flight a few years ago, and before takeoff, they had those videos rolling, and there was one of the videos where they were showing their new plane with these kind of traveling cameras, and I was like, we got to do this. So this is basically when I edit it, and so I added a few more because it's just like when you're flying. I guess everyone in the team has seen that, in the beta team as well. It's like you're flying and you're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And just looking outside, just right now, when you see the top of those little hills and mountains getting lit up by the sun, it's just unreal. So this is what we, like, I don't know if you guys are going to see that well. Right there, Jay. Okay. But yeah, it feels like an entirely new simulator. It doesn't feel like the old one. When we go back to testing things in the old one, it's just ew.
Yeah, I mean, even at work, when we're all talking about different stuff, we still share screenshots between each other, and we're all still amazed. We're like, where is that? Where is that? That's beautiful.
Yeah, it constantly. It's like, I just did this flight from wherever it is, and you're like, oh, didn't even know that was a place.
It's funny because, Tyler, he goes and just finds these places, and then he's like, Mark, you got to try this, and then I go try it. And, it's amazing that he doesn't know what fog is what fog, but he can go and find these beautiful places on Infinite Flight, and then you got to go try this. And so I'm going to go do this flight. Let's do this one. And, I mean, we've been doing this when we got Alpha in February. Yep. Yeah, and there's still new places that we're discovering.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's, of course, Alaska is my favorite. What would be your favorite?
Microphone.
Probably Mexico.
Mexico
Right
is
now.
absolutely gorgeous.
It's
Well, and
very
that's
nice.
kind of new for us too, right?
It
So
is very
like
new.
we've as you added all the new textures or scenery, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, come going to the Caribbean.
The new satellite imagery down there in the Mexico area and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
he showed me some pictures the other day. It was wow. I think yours is that place we flew in France the other day around the Alps and all that.
Between Chambéry and Nice.
Yeah.
For that,
Ooh.
for that
Shanbury and somewhere.
Nice.
Nice.
Our
nice,
our
nice
friend
France.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Our friend Dale McLaughlin, who's been on the podcast before, he's flying for EasyJet now
EasyJet.
on the A320, A319, A320. And he makes approaches into Nice, and he sends us actual pictures. And it's like,
And
oh,
he's
wow,
even
I already
said
know what that looks like
it's
from
so
Infinite Flight.
accurate. He has shown some of his GoPros that he's posted.
Yep.
And then puts the Infinite Flight right beside it, and it's so hard to tell. Heavy Driver's done that, on some of his flights as well. He did that last week, and where the hell is this? This is this is, and it's sometimes it's just hard to tell which is the real one and which is not.
Let's do another question, Tyler. But before we do that, Mark, since we have it on the TV, we won't leave it there forever, and we'll maybe put it back to the TV for the approach. But do you want to try just another couple camera, maybe a tail or a
So let's
wing shot or something?
Let's do this one here. So, of course, this is a beautiful view. I mean, look at that horizon. Yep. And then let me see. That one. I mean, just wow.
Cool.
You're almost mesmerized. And then, of course, this is one. It's even though it's somewhat distorted because it's like a fisheye lens almost, but it's still one of my favorite views.
What server are you on right now?
This is on the IFATC, our
Okay.
training server that we use.
Oh, man. Okay, cool. I'm going to put the camera back in a second so we can see everybody. But, Tyler, why don't you rock another question, and Steven, you can let me know.
I
where
mean, I
the
think they're all
camera
pretty
angle should
anxious
be.
about pricing, but one thing I am seeing is what new libraries have we added. Libraries. We'll have this ongoing debate for years. But what have we added? Are there plans to continue adding different libraries and stuff as we go along?
So we've added some Frontier Airlines liveries for the 320, and a couple more liveries on the 777 300ER, which are the KLM Orange Pride, a beautiful gradient from orange to blue.
That is a gorgeous,
we showed a picture
gorgeous
of that one.
aircraft. Yep.
And a British Airways 773 as well. So that's just those liveries. I think it's 4 liveries for Frontier and 2 for the.
I think it's 5 new ones, isn't it?
5?
new
Okay,
ones, yeah.
5 new liveries. Yep, that's it.
Also asking about refueling.
Oh, so refueling is only going to be so if you're solo mode, you can refuel at any time, even in flight. But if you're in live, refueling is only on the ground, off the runway. Engines on and off doesn't matter, and parking brake has to be on.
Yep.
So
Okay.
ideally, you have parking is better. But yeah.
Yep. And let's just put a little tip out there. Let's not refuel when you're holding short and ATC's telling you to move.
And that's something that Tyler and I have tried to push in the community is to file your flight plan before you go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even more paramount now with the fuel being a factor.
Yep.
And, of course, I'm going to have tutorials on how to calculate your fuel in a simple way. And it's so funny because Tyler and I, when we do a flight, we're pulling out procedures. We're pulling out the star.
Steven does
Steven's using ForeFlight over here and pulling out everything.
It
but
takes him longer to file his flight plan than it does to fly the
actually,
flight.
we're going to go from Dubai to LAX, which is a 16-hour flight. But if he starts the flight plan today, we should have it tomorrow. But Tyler and I will pull out the SID. We'll file that. Then we'll file the FPL that we use FlightAware and Flight Radar 24 because you can actually pull up the FPL of the actual flight. And we'll do that, and then we'll pull up the star into the next airport, and, of course, the approach, whether GPS, whether you're doing ILS, RNAV, or whatever, or the visual. The visuals are now fun. Doing the visual into LGA and all that stuff. So the other day, during FNF a couple of weeks ago, actually, it was crazy because on my iPad or on my MacBook, I had the SID, which is the departure. I had the star on the other side, and I had the en route, the high IFR en route charts pulled up that they're actually using for these, and so it was, and you're following these, and it's just so amazing.
And then add ForeFlight to the mix, and it's like ridiculous.
And then when you have first class ForeFlight. So, you're just sitting here doing all this stuff, and we've been talking about different ways that we would love to be able to implement that, and which we're not going to go into all that right now because that's
well, we'll maybe
a
take a
project.
couple more questions in a minute, but let's talk about pricing. It's been almost 45 minutes, so we've made them wait long enough.
Well, before we start talking about price, I'm just kidding. Let's take a moment here to hear a live flight ad. I mean,
We could just do a live one. I've got the T-shirt.
So, how do you do the advert again? How does it go?
Do you want me to sing the song?
Yeah, sing the
Mark,
song.
have you ever heard of Live Flight?
Yeah.
Hell no.
I just know something about downloadable KML files or something like that.
Yeah, that's my favorite part is the downloadable KML.
Yeah. Okay, Philippe.
All right. So with this update, we are introducing our new subscription model, which we are calling Infinite Flight Pro. This means that we are retiring the Infinite Flight Live subscriptions. So with Infinite Flight Pro, you can buy it in 3 separate subscription plans. So we have the 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months and 12 months. So 1 month, 6 months, and 12 months. For 1 month, so for it's going to be $9.99. For 6 months, it's going to be $49.99, and for a year, it's going to be $79.99. US dollars. So then local tax. I mean, the price will vary.
It varies
based
per
on-
state sometimes, right? Or
per country based on currency exchange and local taxes. So
Okay.
this we don't really
and this is
control.
only available in the App Store or on Google Play, right? It's not gonna, or can we buy it straight from you?
Yes, it's only going to be on the App Store and Google Play.
Okay.
We are retiring also the website purchase option. So the the $9.99, what does it include? So before, if you bought live for a month, you only had access to all the regions, and you only had access.
You only had access to online.
To online.
Right.
That's what it is. Now with the $9.99, you get access to. You can fly anywhere in the world, and you have access to all our aircraft. So it's.
Is there a name for this?
What was that?
Is there a name for this? Did you already say it?
Infinite Flight Pro. Yeah.
There we go.
So there's only one subscription. It varies based on how long you want the subscription for, and it includes everything. We're trying to simplify our offering, making it having less in-app purchases and just making it a subscription.
Yep.
So that's it. So
okay. So I've got my. This isn't really, but let's say I've got my iPhone 4, and I'm running Infinite Flight just fine right now. What happens to me? I can't upgrade to iOS 10, so
that's a good question. So with this update, also we are raising, as we said last week, we are raising the minimum device requirement, meaning that you need to have on iOS a device that at least has iOS 10. On Android, you need Android 5, and also a device that supports OpenGL ES 3.0. If you are not sure, you can always send us an email and we'll confirm. But I think if you go back to our previous announcements, there's all the information that you need is on the forum.
maybe we'll in your post, maybe we can reference some of that.
Yeah, everything. So everything that we're saying right now will be in the post that we'll send right after this live stream.
And it will be across the forum.
So let's
social medias and all that.
For those who may not know, that's community.infinite-flight.com.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And
so to come back to your question, so if you have an old device that cannot update to Infinite Flight to the new to this new update, you will, and if you have already a Live or a Live Plus subscription that is still active, that subscription it'll still go all the way to the end, and you'll still have access to our servers. But you won't be able to renew it. We're retiring Live and Live Plus for those devices, because at this point you probably do not have a good experience anyway if you have such an old device.
yeah.
And this is something we have to do to move forward with global. So the other good news is that if you do have if you can upgrade and you do have a Live or Live Plus subscription today, you will automatically be upgraded to a Pro subscription
Until the end of your.
subscription, and then you renew as a Pro subscription.
Okay. That's a little bonus for people who already are users.
So if you just bought a Live Plus subscription, your subscription is you will have access to the entire Earth, and so without paying anything extra. So you're good to go. And even if you have if you bought your Live subscription recently, you'll have access to.
You'll have the rest of the year on Pro.
Yeah, for Live the rest of the month.
Okay, I see. If it's a monthly, yeah. Tyler, any pricing related questions that are coming up, or did he answer them? Yeah. Okay. So we're good there. Just grab that mic.
Without aircraft, if you just have a standard Live monthly subscription, you will get access to global and multiplayer, but no aircraft. Only the ones that you purchased.
Okay. Well, that leads into my next question, which is differentiating. And sorry if you already covered this. I'm trying to think ahead. If you're on solo and you're restricted to regions, you mentioned this actually on our last episode. But what happens there? You mentioned something about being able to take off in a region and land in a different region, but not in a region that you don't have.
Exactly. You can't do so. For example, back like
for non-pro users.
Right. For non-pro users, you can fly from. You can't go from San Francisco to LA because the gap is too big, but you can go from London to Paris because there's a corner where the regions are connecting. So if you go through that corner, we won't cut the throttle.
Okay.
Now, having said that, the regions are configurable on our end. So
Right. So that process might become a little easier for pilots.
exactly,
At some
we could open like a smaller connecting region, so that you don't have to cross
Yeah, we might
exactly where.
we might change. I mean, we might change a little bit the regions later. I mean, this is something that is very easy for us to do.
Yep.
To kind of improve what the default experience when you just buy the app and you don't want to, you just want to fly solo and you're not interested in purchasing a subscription. This is something that we can change here and there, or add a region or change a region
Sure.
to make it more interesting for people who have
Now
bought the app.
you've said you've done away with in-app purchases
for regions.
for regions.
Yeah.
But aircraft you can still
So
buy new
aircraft you can still.
There's one
Go ahead.
important part about regions. So if you don't have a pro subscription, but you have bought regions inside the app in the previous version, you can access them. They're still going to be open. We still honor those purchases. So if
Okay.
you had bought Paris region, you can still access it with the new version
Okay.
in solo mode
And so
without a pro subscription.
okay. But what do I get if I don't have a pro subscription? I've just purchased the app. What regions do I have?
It's basically the same as before.
Okay.
Minus
all the free regions.
yeah.
That were
minus Singapore, because we don't have high quality imagery there
Okay.
yet.
But you won't
as
be
soon as-
offering some of the paid regions
No.
unless you already have them.
No.
Okay, that's good. Are the aircraft when you launch Global, are they the free aircraft the same as they were before?
Yes, nothing has changed on the aircraft front.
Okay,
It's the same
for now.
for now. Yeah.
Cool. As you add new aircraft, is there ever a plan to like turn on an extra free one that's an older one maybe that's paid?
We have not really thought about that at this point. This release was mostly about global.
Yeah.
We actually had an internal whistleblowing kind of policy in place. So if somebody was trying to work on something,
Somebody, you.
I actually had to fight for like fuel dump and nav mode.
Fuel
It was like,
jettison.
we don't need nav mode. I'm like, oh, you kind of need it.
That's my favorite
yeah.
feature, by the way.
So it was like, it was a good way of keep making sure we don't go off on something that was going to take too much time. We call these cans of worm, where you think it's just fine and then you open it and it's just like, it's just much a bigger task. So that's why like we just focused on just if the goal is to improve global, you can do it. If not, then wait for the next version.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I
the
think Tyler-
LNAV. The LNAV is one of my favorites as
Oh.
well. And then when I go back to the RTM, like when I was working on some of the before and after shots.
That's the current build everybody else has right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The RTM. When I'm doing the before and after shots, it's I'm sitting here and of course I'm letting our test build just letting the LNAV fly. But then I had to remember, crap, I got to sit here and turn this thing to follow
Exactly.
the flight plan.
You get to a waypoint and blow past it 'cause
Yeah,
you're
I'm
not paying any attention.
God,
Yeah.
this
And there was
sucks.
actually a fun moment about those pictures. So Mark was taking like before and after shots, right?
Yeah.
And then Philippe and I were like, "Can you turn up the visibility on the store version? It just looks like you have really poor visibility." He's like, "This is the max." I'm like 50 kilometers.
Yeah.
And I actually had to launch the app. I was like, there's no way. I launched the app. I was like, "Yep,
Yeah, Philippe was like,
pretty much."
I have a hard time. Oh, really? Let me help you with that hard time. But no, seriously, I mean, because, to make sure that the altitudes were similar, I had to go, as high as I was on Global. I had to do it on the RTM. And, yeah, and I didn't even think about that because when you're flying in the regions, you seldom go above 30,000 feet. We would do 24, 26, 28. But when you're up around 34, 36, 38,000 on the current public RTM build, you can't see anything. You can't. But here you can see miles and miles of mountains and wow.
People are asking about the A350. Any plans for that?
Like
No.
I said on the live thing yesterday, you have the 787. It's literally the same plane.
We'll get Jarno to paint a mask over the windshield.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
We
go.
should do that.
We'll add the Air Canada livery, and there's your 787.
If Mark has his way, the A350 will never make its way into the app.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, yeah, I know that it's a highly requested aircraft, and it would be cool to have that since we do have the 787, and they are separate, two different aircraft. But
Oh, here's a
There's
good
so
question.
many other things we need.
Are there gonna be any altitude and speed restrictions?
Okay, so on the speed restrictions right now, we have 550 knots ground speed. The reason we did that on the 550 knot ground speed was because you're limited in space in these regions. And then, of course, if you're above flight level 400, you could just haul ass, do whatever you wanted to do, especially for the fighters, and they could get up there easier. But the speed restrictions are basically going away once this is released, simply because it's a great big world, you know, and you're
Right.
not going to be really interfering with anybody.
However, I think everything will still be handled on a case-by-case
Case-by-case,
basis with our
absolutely.
controller. So if you're in a really busy airspace,
Yep.
you know, flying at 1,000 knots is probably going to get you in some trouble. And, you know, you should never be at a point where if the controller asks you to do 200 knots, you've got to lose 800 knots,
Yeah.
you know, 5 miles from the airport.
Right.
So we'll kind of reevaluate it, but I think for now it's best to kind of start as a clean slate, see how people use it, see really what the next step forward is
Yeah.
going to be for us.
And you know, one good thing is that we've added back the visible airspaces. So you know, especially during events. I mean, you don't want to go basically hauling ass through an airspace in an F-22 at 10,000 feet at 1,200 knots ground speed.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
kind of stay clear of the airspaces. Just use your best judgment, which
Yeah.
I mean that's difficult for some of our people, but
And often the lack of common sense will lead to being reported by
Right.
ATC
They'll
or
be
by, or by
reported.
a supervisor.
yep.
And so, what, Tyler? Can we share any details on how the new? Will there be any new ghosting procedures, or is that going to stay the same?
For ghosting, it should stay about the same. Really, for our controllers, it's a last resort, and they should be able to answer accordingly with screenshots and stuff like that. And I think with Global, we'll see the ability to be a little more patient too, because there's not going to be so many aircraft in one place at one time. So we have opportunities to work with people, be a little more patient. We have more airspace to move them around and allow them to lose the 30,000 feet when they're right over the airport.
Yep.
So we'll still proceed as we always have, and I think that's
Yeah.
something we can revisit. a
And we'll
month in.
adapt and make the changes.
Right.
Sure.
We have to see, because right now it's just our beta group flying, and you know I don't think we've had to ghost any. No, you did during the video the other day because they weren't following
Ooh,
instructions. but-
name. I'll give him a shout out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It was
you know, but still, I mean,
Gary. Gary's like, no, stop talking about that.
oh, was it Gary?
I didn't go scary because he
Okay.
would have disappeared off the screen if I did.
That's
the
right,
only
right.
saving grace.
But we will. What we have to see is it's all about that data that you have to collect. So we need to see how people are going to actually use this new build, the update, and then we can make our adjustments and go from there. And like Tyler said, it's going to be case by case.
Yeah. Well, Tyler, what do we see for ATC? I know in San Francisco we were talking on the way to the airport in Laura's car, and then we talked a little bit on the live stream. But now without regions, and we can't pack people into one place for an event.
Right.
So what do you see being one of the main strategies for ATC?
I think for us, we'll just have to be have to plan ahead a little bit. We can't
Right.
just open up a facility without really a plan of how you're going to handle the aircraft. And there's going to have to be a little bit of scoping out your region where you're opening. Obviously, right now we've opened the same airports over and over and over. We're comfortable. We know what the limits are. So when you're opening a brand new airport like Gibraltar or any
Yep.
of these other ones, you're going to kind of have to do a little bit of research online maybe, or just look around that area before you start vectoring aircraft.
Yeah.
Have we talked about, and this may be a good time to talk about the terrain that is currently in the map?
Right. So if you're working approach, we currently have in the RTM where it actually shows what terrain is around, so you can kind of help navigate aircraft around different mountains, terrain, stuff like that. In this coming update, we will not have that feature just yet. Obviously, that was a
What was
It-
the challenge there for our
Memory.
developers? Val, do you want to answer
It's
that?
Val's fault. No, so
Val's fault.
Val's like
Theory.
hiding.
I was wondering why he was over there rubbing his head really bad, like trying to hide.
Time. That's all.
Oh,
It's
okay.
because everything related to displaying like the terrain and map and stuff like that. Everything changed. Had to change to accommodate for the Earth and
Yep.
the fact that it's a globe. So we had to cut it and we'll re-add it as soon as possible because we realize it's very, very important for ATC. But it was just a decision that we had to make to be able to release.
And it's something that will be important for pilots as well when we're trying to file FPLs into a field, because not everybody's going to pull charts and plates and everything else. So it's something that, we do know that, we need it, but we had to make a decision so we could get this out.
Yeah. There's a workaround though, right, Tyler? What's the workaround?
Right now, we've encouraged a lot of our approach controllers to use approach plates and stuff like that. And there's actually a lot of information available online that you can literally just quickly find where the terrain's at. And then for those that have watched some of my tutorials, you know that we have the drag and vector feature where you can actually hold down on an aircraft, and that's still going to work as well. So it's pretty easy to just tap on an aircraft, drag around their vicinity, and find
You'll
what
still
your
see the terrain
what your
elevation and
terrain
all that.
is and stuff. We've got some really capable controllers that I think can be resourceful and work around this.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of one of our most capable controllers, Gary, come over here for a sec. Yeah,
He's like, I just sat down.
you got a free breakfast, so you can come and just cop a squat right here, and let's just ask Gary, do you see this as being like a huge, right there, put it right close. Do you see this lack of altitude awareness being a huge issue for you, or what's your plan?
There's going to be a learning curve. Once you get familiar with the area, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Like, for instance, right now, I can probably vector people into case without having any terrain because I'm so familiar with it. So I think once people get familiarity with the airspace where they're controlling, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Do you do you use plates and things like that, or do you just spend a lot of time in
I
the
have
in-app?
a few times I've referenced plates, like for Palm Springs. I looked that up, and then it was kind of fun to bring people in over that mountain range. So yeah, I've done it in the past.
Okay. I know that Arnold at one point posted a little thing on the forum about how to read
He did,
approach plates
yeah.
and things like that. So that's maybe something that we could revisit and even do once you guys start doing more video tutorials. That would be
I've
I
already
would
got a
benefit
couple that
from
I've been
that.
working on that are going to, that way they're more of an official FDS infinite flight tutorial.
Yeah.
Just kind of breaking them down a little bit. Just
Now that really only applies to America or North America.
no.
Most
It
part,
will
right?
be the same. The plates are going to. They're pretty universal.
Can you find all of them?
If I don't have them or have access to them, I can get them. So
Okay. So like I'm just thinking that reading the plates and knowing how to interpret some of those, like even if you don't know all the terrain, knowing how to read an approach plate or knowing what the approaches are,
Right.
if you follow those, you're fine.
well,
right?
and
Like the
that's
altitudes
what
and
I'm going to
things.
show on these. I'm not going to cover 100% of everything. I'm just going to show the key points on how to gauge your terrain and your descent into an airport.
Yeah. Okay.
So
cool.
and then plus they'll have their stuff for the controllers but yeah, Gary, you're one of our best controllers.
This is G Hams on
G Hams.
on,
If
That's
you've
right.
ever been ghosted by G Hams, that's him.
he's in Atlanta. He's in Roswell, Georgia right now. If you want to come find
yeah,
him.
For a short time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it when we get those messages that you and I get all the time. I was just ghosted for no reason by G Hams, and then we start doing our investigation, and we're like,
If you were ghosted by G Hams, there was a
There
reason.
was-
did
there was a
something
valid
wrong. It's the most
reason.
patient,
Yeah.
just most.
He's going to
patient
give you the
controller.
most leniency out of anybody.
oh, I love
so.
it. When I had one a while back, I don't think it was you, Gary. No, it was one of our other guys. He said, I've got a coasting complaint. It's not on me. It's on another controller. Let me add you to the link to the message. So he did. And it's a video. The guy videoed his entire flight. So, of course, I fast forward
That's pretty damning.
to the part where he put it on YouTube
Okay.
to show his flight. And so I fast forward to the part where he was ghosted, and he was complaining because he was ghosted for no reason. So I
That
sat
takes some
there.
audacity to you actually keep it live on YouTube
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
complain about it
Yeah,
when
and
you're
so
wrong.
and it was funny because when you're watching it, he sees the reported message and he's like, "What?" and so I break it down because that's how I like to do when somebody says no reason. there's going to be a reason.
Yeah, you want to try and find
And so I'm like, well, you landed at this time on the video. 30 seconds later, you were given the clearance or the exit command. You didn't exit for another minute and a half. There's planes waiting to take off. There's planes landing. And then when you do finally exit, the tail is still sitting out in the runway.
Yep.
You have not exited the runway till you cross the hold short, so you're stopping traffic. And so he wanted
Classic.
to argue, but I'm just like, dude, you're wrong.
We'll get to its question in just a second. Mark,
Yep.
if you want to, if you don't mind, set up an approach because we're getting near the end of
I'm
it.
51 miles from it. So
Oh, awesome. Okay, we're an hour.
So?
Mark is going to set up an approach here, and then we'll put the camera back on. Let's dim the lights on outside there too, so we can get a little nighttime sky action.
I will once. Okay, hold on.
Asking Mark to do something is never just a straightforward process.
Not at all.
I want to mention too before we get to this question. Do you have something? Oh, you're just distracting. Okay. I want to mention that I'm going to keep these since we did feed everybody and they have to do what I say. We're going to do a little sort of after podcast roundtable discussion where I want to just pull up a whole bunch of these questions and just start answering them rapid fire and maybe talk about a few other nitty gritty, maybe with the development and stuff like that. And I'm going to post that for Captain subscribers on FlightCast Cafe later today. So if you have any interest in going to see that, I'm sure the answers to some of the things will be discussed on the forum, and that's fine. But if you want to see that and you have a Captain subscription, you go to flightcast.audio/cafe, and you can get some info there.
Easy killer.
So we're going to do that immediately following this, but that will not be live on YouTube. Okay, so questions, Tyler.
So I've got two. The first one I can touch on really fast.
Okay.
A lot of people want to know what changes will come to XP and the grade table.
Oh, yeah.
And the grade table is something that Laura and I work on pretty regularly, just based on feedback. A lot of the community members on the forum are great with giving us feedback about what they feel is fair, what's not fair.
And your grade table, the grades are when you have access to what servers,
Exactly, and that's based on landings, flight time, being ghosted, violations, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So the great part about that is that we don't need a physical update to be sent to the App Store to make changes to that. We can actually just make that right there on the server, and it's reflected within hours.
Oh, cool.
So I think that's something that's best to wait, again, for global and to see how people interact in that environment and see what changes we actually need to make. And really, from my experience with beta, the XP and grading system, as it was made previously, is actually like the perfect fit in that environment, because before, a lot of your flights may have been 500 XP, and it didn't really feel like you were getting enough for the amount of time you were spending. And now I think you'll see a much greater return if you finish a transcontinental flight or something like that. You have 3,000 to 4,000 XP.
So I don't have to do 500 touch and goes at Oakland before I can.
Right. So I think our current setup actually works really great for any wide variety of styles, whether it's long haul, short, touch and goes, etc.
What was it? The Equator flight I did was 43 hours, 26,000 XP.
Right. So I think I think we're in a really good place right now, and it might be foolish to make a bunch of changes without knowing how people are actually going to use this. And we rely heavily on our community to give us good feedback about what they feel is right and wrong, and that's stuff we talk about internally constantly to make fair changes. And the next question is, with the Infinite Flight Pro subscription, is there a benefit to just getting the live with the Pro subscription, is there a benefit to getting 1 month versus 12 months in terms of what you get in those subscriptions? Is it simply a time limit, or is there stuff that changes?
No, that's what we said. It's just a time limit. If you get the,
it's cheaper, right?
Yep.
It's cheaper if you get the 6 months, you save $10, and if you get the year, you save I don't know, $40.
Yeah.
Over the year.
I took a quick look at the comments, and actually lots of good feedback about the pricing. So. It's good.
Right. So to
Well, I
just
mean,
clarify,
seems
each
fair.
Pro subscription is just purely based on time. Either way, you're getting access to
Yeah.
global scenery, multiplayer, all the features we talked about, and
Correct.
our entire fleet of aircraft.
Correct. It's just a one-stop shop for the complete Infinite Flight experience.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would say if you want to any gauge on how worth the price it is, in the comments, I just saw a couple beta testers talking about how it's worth it, and we're not ashamed of this price because it's just we were just amazed before the video started, the live cast started, at the pictures that were on the screen. You know, Steven was like, "This is just amazing.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful," and just compared to what we had before, what we were offering before, it's just like we said so many times. It's an entirely different simulator. Everything is different almost, so it'll be worth it.
So if you look at the screen
go.
that we're setting up now, you can see the stars as I'm.
We're only in 720p, so I don't know if they'll see that kind of detail.
Oh, they won't see it in the 720.
No. There's, yeah. We can kill the lights for a minute.
Turn the
sure.
lights off for a sec.
Yep.
Okay.
Here we go.
Can you see it better that way? You can. Okay. You can actually see it better on the TV than you can here on the screen. But as you can see, the stars. I don't. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's the Death Star.
Now just yep.
Hmm?
Perfect. Now up just a hair. Up just a hair. Like tilt it up. There we go.
Okay.
All right, so now you can see the
Change
moon
the
a little bit on up on the above the aircraft there.
So let me do this. See how that makes it look.
Can we even see the stars on the stream? Yeah. Oh wow. Mission accomplished. Hello. So Mark, what kind of approach can we expect here? What are we doing?
I have no idea. I'm actually going to do a.
The pilot has no idea.
No, I don't do the usual auto land, and I'm not going to do the Tyler. Sunrise?
Okay, so here's a shot of how you're going to change the.
Okay, so
maybe not.
let me do this real quick. I'm gonna go back to this just so people can see.
And you can
stars
see
one more
the
time.
the dots that you're seeing there on the screen are that's where Mark is touching the screen.
Yeah, that's where I'm touching the screen. All right, so we want to go say sunset time.
So this is Cam's
Sunrise.
handiwork right here, right? Cam, is this you? All that changing the date and time and everything.
Yep.
No, it's fixing the bugs that I left in there.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, by the way, while he's doing that, let's mention that the fact that you can actually change if you want to see the eclipse, for example, or you want to you say, oh, there was a amazing harvest moon on this date at this time. You can actually rewind in time or fast forward. Even. Can you go to a date in the
we have
future?
a few years.
Yeah.
A few years. Okay, so
I think it's from 2013 to maybe 8 years.
8
Yeah.
years total.
Yeah.
Plus or minus 4. Okay, so you
plus
can
or minus 4.
you
I
can
would say.
you can figure out if you're really into astrology and you want to see a certain are the stars actually in the right places and
Absolutely.
constellations and things.
Kevin
So
did it. And also the brightness is also correct.
and the brightness too, so you can see the North Star a little brighter maybe. So that we, or at least in North America, and so you can actually go to a time and a date that where that occurred, and you can look at it and fly during the eclipse or whatever. That was
But
a
you
question.
can't
I
see
had
the
on
eclipse on here though.
No, you can't. I actually, when the eclipse was happening, I actually wasn't current time, and I actually took the free camera. I went all the way up to the moon, and I could see the sun was behind me, the moon, and the
So what
Earth.
happens during the eclipse at this
Oh,
point?
not much.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't support shadow like real time shadow, so the moon doesn't eclipse the sun.
Okay.
But they're aligned. Like
Okay, they're aligned and they kind of just they're just bright.
They're aligned. Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the sky is still there. But
I was trying
one
to
day
do it.
maybe.
Sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it'll.
You doing an air show here, Mark?
Yeah, I went from LNAV to the approach mode.
Go to a cockpit view that you can zoom
Yeah.
in on that runway.
Huh?
Zoom in on the runway if you can on one of your. Yeah. There. So this is this is what you're talking about, right, Val? Like you.
Now you can see the airports and their lights from further away. And progressively, the closer you get, the more details are gonna show up. But it's made like the transition is smooth, so you don't notice anything popping out. Like the airport is not gonna pop out right in front of your
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
It's gonna slowly be displayed based on how far you can see. And so
Do we have red and white lights? Are those PAPI lights? Yeah.
yeah,
Do they actually work?
it's the same lighting system than
There they are.
before. It's been just adapted to global.
Okay. Mark, you've got 57,000 pounds of fuel. Are you over?
No, I'm at
You're good?
I'm at max landing weight.
Okay.
Just a
Oh,
little bit
26%. Okay. Nice.
Which is why I'm able to use the approach mode. Let me do the flying.
I was just about to say, let's see how Mark does on this landing. He's gonna grease it, I'm sure.
Well, I'm using
I
approach
mean,
mode
this
right
is
now.
approach mode, so this is my landing.
Yeah, but you can't. No approach mode on the on short final though.
I never do approach mode on landings.
So you can't just tell Mark something. He's gonna have a comment.
All right, so now I want to recalibrate because I've burned the fuel.
Okay. And while he's doing that, guys, we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes. Tyler, if you have any burning questions as we watch this approach, then maybe we can go for one more. You have any there?
A lot of people are asking about fuel emergencies.
Oh, that's a good.
I'm
I
not
meant
sure
to
if
ask
you
that
guys
too,
have
yeah.
encountered that in beta. I think I've only done it once just in
I
testing, but
didn't
it's
know.
very rare. We'll have
So
it
what
set
happens?
up now to where you pretty much can't abuse the system and just start off in an emergency type status.
With ATC, you mean?
Right, with ATC. And ATC is actually going to be able to see how much fuel you have remaining. So we just ask that people use it, responsibly and actually pack enough fuel that you're going to need for the flight. Right, exactly. And you won't even be able to declare an emergency.
What was that, Laura, that you just said?
I was gonna say, like, when we were planning this, we just planned ahead for trolls. So
Trolls and Nimrods?
like we have a lot of experience on that front. So we just figure, like, let's not show the message if there's not a real emergency. So if you're 80% fuel, then you can't declare that emergency.
Yep. Okay. Nice landing, buddy.
Thank you.
You even had a little crosswind there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those runway lights.
Where's the announcement?
Hence the reason I'm the pilot community manager.
I muted the TV. Okay, so that's a good point, dealing with emergencies. And then what actually happens? So if you're inbound, you can declare an emergency with ATC?
Yeah, so if you're at a minimum fuel and then you get to your emergency fuel status, then you'll be able to basically request priority. And that's something that we'll work out internally with controllers. And
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes, right? Like, because
Siri
there will be people that purposely plan so that they run out of fuel, like carefully plan so that they're going to have an emergency.
And that's something that we'll again have to just take a look at and see how people actually use it. But
Yeah, because we'll carefully
from
ghost
most
the
in-
ones who still try to troll.
exactly.
Yeah.
Again, if we encounter like issues like this where people abuse the system, try to plan less fuel to get ahead of people, the information, like Tyler said, we send the fuel remaining every few seconds to the server.
Okay.
So we just store that information with the flight points, so we can know, like, at some point if you took off, like, it was definitely not possible that you could make it.
Okay. Yep.
So
Okay. Well, why don't we'll let Mark park and maybe do a view of the engine shutdown, and then we'll turn the lights back on and wrap up. Anything else there for you, Tyler? Oh, winds. Yes, please.
Oh, just one detail we forgot to talk about.
This is an awesome detail.
Yeah, winds aloft.
Yeah.
So, whereas before in the older version we were basing winds on the local METARs below you, it just didn't make sense in our case because we were flying transcontinental flights, transatlantic flights, and the winds up there are like sometimes 100 knots or 150 to 100 knots.
I've had 170 knot tailwind.
Right.
Going
So
across.
we now have a system that downloads weather information. So we have live wind aloft with temperature and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. So if you're planning a flight, for example, from Frankfurt to Los Angeles or San Francisco, the best idea is to go online, FlightAware, and get the flight plan of the day because they planned for the current winds. If you get that flight plan, it's going to get the optimal thing that people actually took time to build. Instead of just going in the same route, because maybe you have the jet stream that's just on your route and you're going to spend like 2 extra hours. So there's sometimes I actually run out of fuel overnight because I planned for, like 8 hours and I get some headwinds and I couldn't make it.
Yep.
So
they
it's an
kind of
added-
get messed up when I fly because I could be flying east and I'm going to get 140 knot headwind. I could do a 180 to go back, and the winds are going to swap on me. So I'm still going to get that 100.
That's
know-
why
Forty
for
knot.
the next updates, what we'd like to see is more of kind of those websites where you can see the live winds around the Earth. So something like that where you can actually plan your flight and get an idea why and where the winds are more favorable.
Yeah.
Kind of like what ForFlight has.
Yeah, ForFlight has it, and there's a couple of free websites, and I can reference these, in tutorials or what have you. But one website also has an app that is very convenient.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Windy.com, I believe it is. or
There's
something.
that one, and then there's earth.nullschool.net. That has a really cool winds aloft feature.
The animation on that one is really cool.
Yeah, and it's best used in a browser, but it actually works on mobile too. You have to learn a little bit about how things are calculated, but it shows you the current streams and things like that so that you can end up in the right place with a tailwind.
So let me see if we can see the nighttime here really
Val's
well.
got something to add here.
Yeah, I have something to say.
Okay.
There's another feature, another one. Since there's just so many airports, we can now search for your airport. So in the airport selection page, instead of having a really long list of 40,000 airports, you have a search box and you just type the airport, the name of your airport, or the code.
Yep.
And or part of the name. So it's a search, so it will match part of the name in there, and it will show you all the airports that match that. And so yeah, it's easier to find your home airport, and also waypoints are also searchable, like fixes, and all that.
Yeah, awesome.
Do you have the
And
time lapse option? Let me see. No.
and
we don't
Cam,
have
how
that.
many airports are we talking?
Well, Val mentioned 40,000. We have the positions of 40,000, but actual airports that are going to be shown and rendered is around 27,000 or so. I just want to give a quick shout out actually to the airport editing
Yeah,
team.
for sure.
These guys are doing a great job. I mean, we've got Dush, who's leading a lot with Moritz, and Kilt McCaggis, of course. These guys are leading, are reviewing a lot of airports and really contributing some amazing data to Infinite Flight. And I mean, big thank you to all the guys that are doing this, and I really can't wait for you guys to see the airports you've done, because I mean, it really
Jay.
is incredible.
Actually, point that back. We were going to do like airport selection or aircraft selection because some people were asking for that.
Okay, let's do that.
Is it good? Okay, so
We're going back to the airport selection, which is the aircraft selection. Sorry.
well, yeah, aircraft. So let me exit this
Let's
flight.
go back. Yeah. That was something else that we added was M-flight confirmation, which is something that a lot of people ask for. And let's just think about it. If you're on a 16-hour flight, you go to calibrate and you hit M-flight, and you accidentally quit it, it's quite annoying. So
Yeah.
it's
So
a small thing, but very useful.
So here, you just select on the aircraft, which we just got a new build, so I haven't downloaded everything. But you scroll through here. But let's say here on the 787, you can just do this,
It's sorted by manufacturer now as well, so
Mhm. or you
easy
can
to see.
do the drop down and scroll through them. So you go to here to Qatar or Mexico, however you want to do that. Of course, the caravans, FedEx, and then for say the airports, it's really nice. So you can zoom out and see the whole world, or you can type in. Let's do ATL. Takes you right to it. Yep, you can select your gate. And what's cool is you can actually see other aircraft at the gate. Huh? Good. Go where? Oh, to another server? Oh, my God. Well, I can't because I'm... yeah.
I'll spawn in two more.
Just go to expert.
All right, so let me do... let me see who's...
Guys, everybody spawn at ATL.
Yep. Everybody spawning at ATL.
Which server? Expert, I guess.
IFATC.
Okay.
Well, you might not have it. Let's just do expert.
Expert global.
Yep.
Of us, I haven't controlled in like ever, so.
So we'll retest you.
Oh.
So you have all the gates here. And see where I'm at. Well, if I'm going to be in Atlanta, let me go ahead and grab the Delta 787.
All right, so we'll show this, guys, and then we're going to turn the lights back on and wrap it up.
Yep.
But remember, after this, we'll get we can maybe make sure Misha's on camera for the round table.
Oh, we need to get Val to do a
He's been
takeoff
very
and
quiet
landing.
over there.
Look at the METARs in Atlanta right now.
Maybe we'll get Joshua to do a flight for us on
Oh,
the
Josh, yeah.
Landing tutorial.
or sing. We'll get him to sing.
Well, it's almost a direct
Sweet home
crosswind
Alabama.
right now. Josh, we need you to do a landing in Atlanta.
I think. Oh, I thought I spawned. What server did we end up at?
Yeah, so. Yep.
Yeah. This how nerve-wracking is it that we're doing a live preview of your system?
All right, somebody's over here. Well, you can't tap and see who it is, but you can just see where the aircraft are.
This will be great for events because, especially an airport like this that's massive,
Oh, yeah.
pretty awesome. Okay, Chris, let's do this. Gary, we'll have you hit the lights over there. And there, I just spawned in, and we won't see it now, but all right. So that's it. Tyler, any last-minute questions? We'll do lots more in the roundtable discussion, but Philippe wants to add something. When's the release date? If you're not sure about the release date, watch this from the start because we talked about that.
Also, I mean, everything. So we said it before. Everything we said today will be included in a forum post that will be posted right after this. Along with the post will come a brand new trailer that we made just for you to enjoy while you wait a tiny bit longer. Hopefully you like it. We surely do.
That'll be the one that ends up in the App Store.
That will be the trailer that will also be in the App Store as an app preview, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything before we go?
Yeah, the trailer's pretty. That's pretty awesome too, by the way. Yeah.
I agree.
Well, of course you agree. Of course, Tyler and I are mad at you because you did it in such a short period of time with little resistance. That looks great. Just kind of change this. We get told.
Expectation is high now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we won't be doing videos no more for no more trailers for us. We're guys. We're trying to leave the 70s back in the 70s. That's what we're told. So
I want to say thanks again to Stephen Wilson, who's been our host and sponsor and buddy, and to his family for letting us invade their house.
Yes.
They actually just peaced
they
out.
evacuated when when they heard the British were coming. They evacuated.
That's right. Seriously, though, Stephen's been an absolute gem. I mean,
Yeah.
bringing us in and having us here, just thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I want to say hi to Seb as well, who couldn't join us.
Oh,
was
man,
supposed to be
and
joining
Joe.
us
Yeah,
from Stockholm.
Seb. It would have been great to have him here
Yeah.
from Sweden.
Joe couldn't make
Joe
it.
as
Who?
well. Well,
Who?
Joe less
Yeah.
so.
No.
Don't worry, Joe, we love you.
Yeah, we wish Joe was here too.
It's not the same without those guys. But thank you to our peanut gallery for showing up. Chris Levitt, who's sitting over there with the red shirt, we can't see him. He's off camera. He's had a wedding to go to yesterday and
Yeah,
just been
funeral he
putting
had
in
to go
some
to.
major hours into the driving just to be with us. So thanks, Chris. And to the and Keist, who's sitting over there too, came from Australia, for goodness sakes.
G'day, mate.
G'day.
Yep.
And Chris Schaefer's taking photos yesterday. Took photos of he wasn't signed up to do that, but just volunteered and stepped
And
up.
you did a
so
great job too, man. Thanks for doing that.
for Cam and Misha
Yep.
doing all the live streaming as we've been
Live Flight, the Infinite Flight podcast.
Live Flight,
Yeah,
the
and the
new Infinite
entertainment.
Flight podcast.
The
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Uh,
I would like to just say thanks to Mark, Tyler, Laura, Philippe, Val, Cam, all you guys make this happen.
Yep.
On a day in and day out basis, and really the reason why we're here.
Yep.
So thank all you.
For those on the stream who didn't hear that, thank you to Infinite Flight and all the staff. Without Infinite Flight, none of us would be friends or be here, which is pretty incredible. Incredible.
Yeah,
to think
Steven cracks me up because he's like a kid. Every time he'll send me a text or you'll call. You went into Salt Lake City last week with work, and he calls me in the terminal. Dude, check this out. I just text you a picture of our approach. Here it is on Infinite Flight.
Yeah.
He's so cool with
It
it, man.
looked identical.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing how like you couldn't tell. And I
Well,
think
every
that's
flight you
perfect.
do is almost like it's like new all over again.
Exactly.
So, but thank you, man. Seriously, from all of us. I mean, for being so hospitable.
Thank you all.
Yeah, it's been great here. So,
All right. That's it, everybody.
Yep.
I want to say once again thanks to Laura and Philippe and all the crew here. Thank you for sponsoring us as we headed down here. It made things a lot easier. I don't have to say go check out Infinite Flight in the App Store. That's why people are watching right now, because they're waiting for it. But this episode is brought to you by Flying Development Studio. And thank you for tuning in to FlightCast, guys. We will see you later. Don't forget to check out the Captain membership on FlightCast.audio if you want to see more content from today. We'll see you next time. Happy landings, everybody.
yep, we'll see everybody in Global soon.
Global.
Cheers.
Bye.